what I'd like to do is I'd love to just go around the room really quickly and just give us a sense of, do a little quick introduction, but also give us a sense of what you want to get out of today, why you're so passionate about podcasting, what you want to learn in particular, so I can make sure that we cover it. Obviously, I can't cover everything in a short period of time, a short webinar, but I'm going to cover just some high-level stuff, and I'm going to give you some resources. And at the end, if you do want to go ahead, I've got an incredible offer that you can grab, but let's get into it and just do a few introductions as well. So why don't we start with Solitaire? I'll call you Solitaire, but it's James, isn't it? Or Ashlock?
Yeah, Charles.
Charles. Tell us a bit about you, Charles.
Yeah, so I'm in right outside of Philadelphia, PA, where I was pretty much raised, and I moved out to the suburbs into Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, so I just want to do a nice podcast, culture and society and culture podcast, because I like to have fun. I want to bring a lot of energy to it.
Nice.
And just see what I can present to the world.
Okay, amazing. And anything particular that you want to get out of today? Is there any, like you said, you've got a lot of gear already. Is there anything that you kind of want to fill in the gaps with?
No, I just want to get your expertise, information and everything, so I could go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and get started.
I love it. Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, I'm sure we're going to get into some great stuff today. And we want to make this collaborative as well. So if anybody has opinions, comments, experiences they want to share, let's share it with everybody else because we all learn from each other. Amilcar, tell us a bit more about you and what you're looking to learn today.
Hi, Amilcar from Providence, Rhode Island. So I'm interested in different aspects of podcast. I have this idea of starting a podcast on building a community and talking about community events.
Nice.
And topics that interest the local population.
Okay.
So I'm just want to know the initial first steps of starting a podcast.
Right. All right. Fantastic. Tiffany, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us a bit more about you.
So I'm Tiffany. I'm based in Midwest Ohio, small town called Dayton.
Cool.
And I am a nurse practitioner, and I am thinking of a show that is supporting patients and providers, kind of like outside the exam room, because healthcare is unnecessarily complicated. But I also used to host a live radio show many years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I just never got into podcasting. So I really just kind of want to learn, how to get started and how to stream it, across multiple, I guess the best platforms to kind of get started the easiest way, I guess. I want things to be easy and flowy. That's like my love language is ease and flow.
I like that. Very cool. Everybody wants that, but that's cool. We're going to go through that today. You can do it really easily. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of time, and you can build it from there as you go, as you get better. So definitely. Jeff Withers, the famous one and only Jeff Withers. Tell us a bit about you, mate.
That sounds a bit overstretched. Am I the only other Australian on the show today so far?
Kelly's Australian.
Oh, good. There's a couple of us here.
A few of us Aussies.
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, I'm in the wrong place. Never mind. No, you know me. Where we focus on is, I guess, about people, and obviously people living long and well, etc., etc. So I won't go into detail, but the point is, we've been told by enough people that what we're doing is unique enough that people aren't getting the picture easily. We're telling things that are probably ahead of their time. Mm-hmm. So the message I've been getting is, one thing is the podcast. Great. Now, I've been guesting a lot. I've been yours a couple of times and other podcast guests.
Yep.
But then the message I keep getting from people is, well, why don't you do it yourself?
Great.
So, including you, do it yourself. So I'm getting to the stage where maybe I have to look at doing it myself.
Nice.
So that's me.
Great idea. Awesome. Well, anyway, we'll go through some stuff that'll help you today.
Sure.
Now, Kelly Nissen. I've known Kelly for ages. How you doing, Kelly?
I was just going to say that, Darren. I've known Darren for a long time, and every time I see him, I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to start this podcast. But you might be surprised, impressed, I don't know, to know that I've actually recorded an episode
Yes.
now, because I've got a bee in my bonnet about self-publishing, and
Right.
I want to kick some butt. So I'm just like, I'll do it this way. So I think maybe I've finally got a good idea that I want to run with. So
Great.
I'm hoping to become a little bit more present and actually pull finger a little bit.
Good. All right. Fantastic. Look forward to it.
And remember all the stuff that you've taught me probably twice now already, Darren, as well.
Love it. Christine with an E. Can you tell us a bit about you really quickly?
Hi.
Hey.
Yes, I'm Christine. So yeah, I'm kind of here in the boat with everyone else. I'm trying to just learn some things because I'm new to this. I'm actually starting a podcast with my twin sister, so she's the one on the call, Christina. And we
wow,
actually
nice.
we have her name already. Yes, she's here. We have a name already. It's called Twice the Tea. And we started to we started to actually what do you call have things on different social media platform for advertisement. But I
Nice.
do plan to start to have it launch in the middle of the year, and we're starting to trying to get started at actually recording. So I'm trying to give myself that grace period. So
Amazing.
then we have some episode between. But the podcast would be about personal growth, personal and professional growth. We both are engineers.
Yep.
And some unique stories from twins as well. Generally speaking, I have a background in education as well outside of my engineering career. So a lot of time people always say things about, like, even from my sister point of view, how we're very motivating and inspirational. And a lot of time we do a lot of community engagement events and things of that sort. So now it's actually having a platform where we could actually speak on certain things and topic, where in some cases we actually give advice to some people. In other cases, it's just things that we learned along the way that we could share to the community.
Amazing. Fantastic. Love it. That's awesome. Christina, do you want to add anything to that?
Hi everyone. Sorry I can't be on camera today, but
All good.
she kind of summed it all together. My sister had actually invited me to this call, and I'm
Awesome.
just ready to learn. So
Okay.
thank
Amazing.
you.
Love it. LaShawn, tell us a bit about you.
Hi. You're not seeing my face because I'm ratchet looking right now, but my reason for doing this podcast is to empower women.
Right.
Creating a business that's called Women to Women,
Mhm.
and my goal is to reach females of all ages, all backgrounds, and educate them about self-worth, self-care. And this goes from mental health to physical. I do want to empower women in my community. I'm also using my podcast as a way to scale my other business, which is in e-commerce. I will be selling, obviously, mainly women products and things that help, promote self-care and personal care. I want to talk about, subjects that are, really important to the community. I see a lot of them on my For You page is about health and relationships and, between men and women. And, I see them missing a lot of details. And, I don't see a lot of awareness about, violence, like mental abuse within a relationship, physical abuse. There's not a lot of content about, where women can go, what they can do, how to avoid certain situations.
Yep.
I also want to tell my own personal story of how I ended up in this wheelchair, which is also related to all the things that I have talked about. But I want to let women know that, there's more. You can reach for more.
Amazing.
No matter what you're looking for,
Love it. Love that. So cool. Very cool. Looking forward to hearing more about your story. Michael, can you see us and hear us? There he is. Tell us a bit about you, Michael. No. All right, let's leave Michael for a second. Ria, can you hear us and see us? I think she's outside. It's a bit busy, a bit noisy. And finally, Laura or Laura?
Hi.
How are
Eh,
you?
Good, and you?
Very well. Is it Laura?
Yes, I'm Latina, Laura.
Ah, fantastic. Where are you calling in from?
I'm Laura. I'm from Colombia, and I'm
Colombia.
living in Australia. Yes.
Oh my God! Wow, you're another Aussie. Four of us here on the call.
Yes,
I think
in the
it's
other
we're
part of the
slightly
world.
outnumbered, but we're not bad.
Yeah. So I was always interested in podcast, and since I moved to Australia, I met a lot of interesting people, a lot of really hard stories. So I just wanted to show more people that they are not alone in the life,
Amazing.
in the way that they are living. So sometimes you can feel pretty lonely, and when you are aware of someone else deal with things similar to you, it can help you. It can bring you some strategies to bear
So true.
all your situation. Yeah.
Love it. Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up and share my screen with a little presentation that I'm going to run through as well. So bear with me. Slideshow. Just wanted to make sure everybody can see this properly. For some reason I can't see you. Hold on one second. Let me try this again. There we go. All right. Just give me a thumbs up, guys. Can you hear me, see me? Yep. Beautiful. Love it. So we're going to go through the A to Z of podcasting in a really easy fashion. I'm going to keep it really simple. I want to keep this interactive as well. So if you have questions along the way, please jump in. Only too happy to answer. And as I said, I can't get through everything in an hour and a half or so, but I'll give you a great offer at the end, which will give you more information if you want to. But I'm going to give you lots of freebies and stuff along the way as well. So just a bit about me. I have been podcasting now for maybe 7 years or so. I fell into it many, many years ago. By profession, I'm a recruiter, an IT recruiter. I'm also a photographer. And probably about 7, 8 years ago, I realized that marketing was getting harder and harder. And I couldn't get the same results with the traditional means of marketing that I was using. Cold calling, letter drops, general ads in papers, etc. And I stumbled onto digital media, social media, and in particular, podcasting. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. Let's give it a go. And I'm the type of person that just dives right in and tries to work everything out as I'm going along. I'm kind of building the plane while it's in the air. And that's what I highly recommend people do. And so I've started 2 podcasts, one for my recruitment business, one for my photography business. And I've just fallen in love with podcasting. And it's been an incredible journey that's given me so many great results. I've learned so much. I've met so many great people. And it's definitely helped my brand and my business exponentially. So I want to talk to you about how you can do that. And of course, you don't always have to use this as a business tool. This can be used to achieve anything, whether it's a personal passion project, a community project, any event that you're trying to promote, a local church, synagogue, whatever, right? So generally, the common challenges that many of us face when we're trying to achieve any initiative is that enough of our ideal customers or our ideal audience don't know we exist. And it's just getting more and more the case because of the noisy nature and the competitive nature that we're living in. We spend most of our time selling instead of marketing. And they're 2 very, very different things. And even if we want to market and we know the difference between selling and marketing, we don't quite know how to go about it. So I'm going to go through a little bit more about what that means. So just wondering if you can identify with any of those 3 categories. If any of those thoughts have come into your mind, think about which one, and we're definitely going to answer some of those questions. Marketing is generally all about creating awareness for who you are and what you do, whatever that may be. It's all about attention, and you need to know where that attention lives. In this day and age, it lives probably on 7 or 8 different distribution or social media platforms. It also lives in many other places. So we don't want to just talk about social media and digital media, because it is important. It's probably the most important thing these days. But you should also balance that with traditional marketing methods as well. So there's lots of great ways to get a lot of referrals, to do still letter drops can work. Direct advertising and mailing can work. All sorts of other traditional methods can work, but it's about putting them together with the new modern technology distribution that we can all achieve with the social media. So I want to talk a bit about how a podcast could change your life. Number one, it will deliver fresh and varied content to your target audience regularly. And a lot of the time when we're marketing anything, we always are looking for new ways to create content. We need to create more interesting content to feed our audience, to build trust, build credibility, build awareness, but we don't want to have to keep punching out and reproducing the same stuff. So a podcast is an incredible tool to start giving people a lot of variety. And I'm particularly passionate about using guests because that increases that variety. You don't only have to work with guests, but having a guest, even if it's once, twice a month, can make a huge difference because you're tapping into a new audience, you're tapping into a new perspective, you're tapping into new energy, and it's not just you all the time. When you're starting to use a lot of this marketing content to distribute, it's not just your face and your voice, it's someone else's as well. So it's very powerful. The other thing that I'm really passionate about is that podcasting is a very soft attraction mechanism as opposed to a push or hard sell. It almost is a very subtle drawing people in rather than pushing people away. And you can see that on social media nowadays, or any marketing, even email. People are always pushing products and services and pushing their agendas. And it's very noisy, very competitive, and very aggressive. And a podcast can be really subtle, really simple. You're inviting people in to listen to you. You're inviting them into your world. You're not pushing anything heavy. And it's a great way to build a community, build an audience, build traction, and create awareness and trust, which will then lead to results later on. Very, very powerful. You gain incredible access to people that you not normally get access to. So let's say that you're looking to work with a collaborator or a partner, or you're in a business looking for a particular client and you can't seem to break through. You can't seem to get access to that person. And a great way to get access, obviously, the more they see your stuff, you're already going to warm the relationship up and they already might know who you are and they might even approach you. But a great way to get access to people that you find difficult to get access to is to just invite them onto your podcast as a guest. And all of a sudden, the floodgates open and people will want to take your call and take your emails because they're feeling like, wow, this person wants to talk to me. I'm going to be on their show. I'm going to be a star. Everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame. And so this is really powerful from an access point of view. So it changes the whole dynamic when you're trying to court different members that you're looking to work with or work for. Very, very powerful. The other thing that I'm really passionate about is that you can extract many, many forms of content from just your podcast. And guys, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback from one of the mics. So if you wouldn't mind, just for the initial part of the presentation, just turn your mics off or mute yourselves so then I can present this part and then we'll go into some Q&A and some interaction as well. But extracting many, many forms of your content from your main video or audio podcast is very, very, very powerful. You can turn it into written content, audio content, video content, graphic content, and photo content. There's no other means of methodology or modality that you can get that much content out of just doing one thing. So I always say to people, if you're in business or you're looking to market anything, personal or professional, you need to market and you need marketing content. If you're going to create marketing content anyway, why not just drive a podcast strategy and that will give you everything as well. So you're killing 2 birds or 3 birds or 5 birds with one stone. Don't have to recreate the wheel. Just run a podcast and then all your marketing content and all your content for your website, your newsletters, your social media channels, your or email signature, even text possibly in the future, because that's becoming huge. All of this will come from the one strategy, which is just a no-brainer for me, and it gets you to do everything in one place. You leverage your guest's audience. So you allows you to build your network and build your brand, not only through your own audience and organic growth of your audience, but through the growth of your guest's audience. So you've always got to tag your guests in, try and get them to share their episodes around to their network and their community. And all of a sudden, your podcast grows really fast because you're tapping into other people's networks as well. So again, this kind of ties into access, because you start to access people that you would not normally ever dream of accessing. Very, very powerful. You collaborate with other thought leaders and influencers and position yourself as an authority in your field. So let's say that you're working in a particular area and you want to be the person, the go-to person in your space. So that will bring you loads of other opportunities. A podcast is an incredible way to do that. And all of a sudden, if you do it long enough, and again, a podcast is a long-term strategy. It's not going to be something that you can do for 5 episodes and expect incredible results. If you're going to do it, you've got to be patient, be consistent, and know that it's a long-term journey, but I guarantee it will bring you results if you stick with it. And you will start to be invited by loads of other people to come on their show, to speak to their network, to speak to their company, to come on their summit, come on into their conference. There's all these opportunities to become a co-host. Who knows? There's all these opportunities that can give birth when you're running a podcast strategy and you're positioning yourself as the go-to person in your field. Because if there are 2 people that are doing something, one has a podcast and has a really big following, the other person doesn't have anything, who are people going to flock to? The person with the following and with the podcast, because it's just human nature. It allows you to get creative. And people will always ask me, how long should a show be? How should I structure my show? How often should I podcast? What should I do? What should it look like? The beautiful thing about this is it's your show. It's your total creative control. There are no rules. You can make it whatever you want it to be. And it's so much fun to start getting into that creative process and into that creative momentum. And then it's amazing where you'll end up. You might change direction a few times as you go. You'll transform, but that's part of the growth. It's part of the fun. And it's a really, really cool journey to be on. And I can definitely vouch for that. You upskill and get on top of the latest technology. Now, digital is going nowhere. Digital is just amplifying at an astounding rate. And you really need to learn the language of digital. You'll have to learn what MP3 files are, MP4 files are, video snippets, etc., etc., etc. How to play with sound, how to chop up a video. And podcasting will allow you to learn a lot of that stuff in a really easy way, which I'm going to show you. And it will just set you on a stage for the future when technology gets even more and more complicated, because you already have the building block for digital. If you don't do this, you'll be left behind later on because the jump is just going to be way too big. So it's a really cool step to start getting used to a lot of this new technology. You get to sharpen your communication and your interpersonal skills. The more you podcast, the better you get, the more articulate you get, the more you can spread your sales and your marketing messages, the better you are as a communicator in general with family and friends. And it's just really fun and empowering to be able to communicate your message in a fun and clear way because you're practicing and it becomes second nature. Have I forgotten to say that podcasting is fun? I hope everybody's smiling. Podcasting is a lot of fun. There's a lot of things that we can do, and it's just getting more and more fun and collaborative all the time. And the bonus is that you learn so much while you're podcasting. If you're running a solo podcast, you get to learn and articulate your own message. There's a great saying that says the best way to learn anything and to master anything is to teach it. And so the more you're talking about what you do, the better you articulate your own story, and then the better you are at getting results from whatever it is that you're doing. And if you're running a podcast with guests, you learn so much from your guests. I've done about 300 or more than 300 episodes now, and I've interviewed so many people in different areas, and I've learned a hell of a lot. So there's just 11 great reasons why podcasting is such a great opportunity, and it's not too late. It's just beginning, and it brings you loads of opportunities for your business, for your community, for your personal agendas, etc. So imagine if 6 months from now, you've started your podcast. There's a few people on the journey now that are ready to go, ready to press play. People are listening. People are engaging. You're being invited to different opportunities to speak. You're getting new clients. You're getting business from it potentially. Or because you took the step and you said, you know what, it's time. I'm not going to procrastinate any longer. I'm going to hit play and press record and see where this leads. So it's really, really fun. So before we go on, I'd just like to put it out to the floor to see if there are any questions. Does anybody want to ask or comment on anything? Feel free to unmute yourself and just jump in. I'll give you guys a sec. Anybody want to check anything? No? Okay, no problem. Now, things to consider. A lot of people will ask, which platforms should I use to distribute my podcast and to promote my podcast? I would say when you're starting off, you don't want to be chewing off too much. You want to be biting off more than you can chew. Just start small and concentrate on 2 or 3 platforms that you think are going to be the ones that are going to give you the results. So think about where your audience or your target audience will live and use those 2 or 3 platforms. First, once you master your workflow, you master your system, you get more comfortable, you can start adding others, and you might even bring in some VAs or some other team members to help you, and you can start increasing your reach with more platforms. But start with a few of the basic ones. There might be Facebook, LinkedIn is huge, TikTok is huge. You'll generally have your own YouTube channel because I'm going to talk about how to put your podcast on YouTube in video form, and you're going to have your audio form as well, which I'm going to talk about. And I always like to remember to remind everybody that your email signature is a great platform that we always forget about. Think about how many emails you send a day to people and how many times people view your email signature. That can be a really great piece of real estate to promote something. Just promote one thing. Promote your podcast episode, your latest episode, your upcoming episode, your show, and just keep people engaged with what it is that you're doing. As I mentioned, forms of content, you're going to be drawing written, audio, video, graphic, and photo content. And it's going to be longer form and shorter form. So you can't do anything else that will give you this amount of content than a podcast. It's just the most incredible strategy to get all this content in one place with the one strategy. Now, I like to talk about styles of content. This is really, really important. And a lot of the time people forget that they really should be thinking really, really carefully about what is in their content for their audience. The first thing I do when I post up anything or promote anything or share anything is to think about what's in it for my audience, not what's in it for me. And try and think about your content in three ways. It can be educational, it can be documentary, and it can be promotional. And you can add a bit of entertainment thrown into those three as well. But think about education, teaching people something, information. Think about documentary, which is more behind the scenes. If anybody's been watching White Lotus, I have, I'm a big fan. I'm getting their stuff on Facebook all the time, behind the scenes interviews, show products about what they were wearing in the show, pictures of them arriving in Australia to do a launch, etc., etc. They're heavily promoting it in a million different ways. And that's what I definitely teach when it comes to podcasting. Think about it from a multi-pronged attack and use education, documentary, and promotional material, content, but do it in the right order. And always remember that I like to say 80% educational and documentary, 20% sales or promotional. Because you don't want to be selling all the time. You want to be giving people entertainment, education, documentary stuff, get them to work with you behind the scenes, get to know who you are, get to connect with you on a personal level. And then every now and again, you throw in some promotional or sales content, which is absolutely fine. We're running a business here, or we're trying to promote something, unless you're absolutely altruistic, which power to you. So remember just to balance your content in the right order. There are no rules to when to post your podcast or when to launch your podcast, when to put out an episode, when to promote it. The key is just to be consistent. Have some kind of rhythm that's reasonably consistent so people don't just forget about you. As long as you're promoting and launching your stuff regularly enough, it's fine. It doesn't have to be the exact same minute of the exact same day or the exact same week. Right? Now, of course, guys, remember to jump in and ask a question if you want to. What genre? Most of the time, I will say to people, a specialized genre is probably the most important. Not many people can get away with a very broad genre. You generally want to have a little niche to whatever it is that you're doing. So if it's going to be nursing, if it's going to be community, if it's going to be coming to Australia and learning and working and sharing people with your journey and how you assimilated and how you became comfortable with the culture, whatever it is, stick to your lane, and a lot of people will start to know you and trust you for that particular lane that you're in. Every now and again, of course, you can throw in something a bit different, but I would be careful to make your show too broad. Me, for example, I can do that because my podcast is about a podcast, or is about podcasting as a tool. So that allows me to become very broad. But most people will have a different genre or a different speciality, and I would stick to that speciality quite strongly. As I mentioned, guests or solo, I like to do a bit of both, because I think guests particularly add that extra element and that extra perspective to your podcast. Who is your target audience? Always try and remember, who am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? What are they going to get out of it? And always come at it from that perspective. And that's how you will grow fast, as opposed to not growing because you're giving people what they want. A lot of people will ask me, how do I find my guests? There are so many ways. First of all, let's start with the obvious. Friends, family members, neighbors, contacts. Everybody is out there with a story, and I'm sure that there are some people out there that will be able to add value to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So think about your close circle of influence first, and then you can start further expanding into other networks. I belong to a fantastic business network called BX Networking. Jeff and a few others are on the call here with me today as well. And of course, Kelly, of course, got out of mental blank, and a few others. So always remember, networking groups are amazing if you want to start communicating with other people and talking about your podcast, and they'll start saying, oh, great, let me hear about your podcast. What do you do? Can I come on? Can I be on the show? Before you know it, you'll have guests coming in from all sorts of specialities that might be relevant to you just from your networking group. Social media is another one. You might want to start using your social media community to ask for guests. You ideally, you'd want to start promoting the fact that you're running a podcast and you're about to launch your podcast, and then you've got to be needing guests. And if anybody's interested in joining and coming on the show, reach out to you. So you can start using all sorts of different mechanisms to finding guests. And before you know it, you'll have more guests than you can think of. And it's a lot of fun. And then the better you are at executing on the podcast and the workflow, the better it is that referrals will start coming to you as well. So people will start referring other people to say, oh, you've got to jump on Darren's podcast. It was so much fun. He made it really easy. Here's another guest for you. So it's another really, really fun way to do it. And it'll happen naturally. The more you put your energy and your creativity into your podcast. Now, monetization. A lot of people will ask me, oh boy, how do I monetize my podcast? You know, there's so many podcasts out there. It's getting so competitive. Should I even start? Can I make any money from it? I get this all the time. And what I generally would say is absolutely you should start, because you don't have to be Joe Rogan. You don't have to be the world's biggest podcaster and, you know, win a massive $20 million or whatever it was to buy your podcast from Spotify. You can work with your circle of influence, which might be much smaller, but still be very, very monetizable and very, very rich in referrals and in business opportunities. So I like to think of monetization in two forms: direct and indirect. Direct monetization is more advertising or promotional. For example, if your podcast reaches a certain level and you start getting large enough, people will start to notice you, and then they will start to ask you to be able to promote their initiatives, their business, their products, their services on your podcast and pay you for it. So you have to build up to that level. You have to put in a bit of time. You have to build up the numbers, but it can happen. There are also many, many indirect ways to podcast and make money from your podcast. So it might be merchandising. It might be speaking and consulting. It might be collaborating with other podcasts in some way. It might also be co-promoting or co-branding or co-starting a new podcast and sharing resources that might not be just money. It's almost like a bartering system. There are all sorts of ways you can start charging for guests to come on your show when you get big enough. And I can't go into everything today, but there's a whole other journey about monetization, which you can find if you want to look up some of my stuff. So let's talk tech. Before I jump on or continue any further, any questions from anybody? Feel free to jump in, either put your hand up or just unmute and ask a question. Christine, go for it. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know from your perspective, when you have guests on, is there any approach that you would recommend when you have guests on? Because one thing, and as I mentioned before, in regards to me and my sister going to be starting recording, I do have people that are interested in being a part of our podcast. And during those episodes, it obviously is going to be tailored more towards the guests. But what would you recommend in that end? Does that make sense?
Yes. So you mean, so the episodes are going to be tailored towards your guest, you mean?
Well, in terms of the fact that they'll be asking and answering certain questions and
Yes.
things of that sort. Yeah.
And you want to know how to prepare them?
What is your best way of, like, in general, like even that, like what is, when you have a guest on your show, what do you think is the best way to utilize a guest on your show?
Sure. Okay, perfect. Well, I'll get to that in a second as well, but I'll definitely
Okay.
touch on that right now, because I think it's really important to think about always gearing your podcast to your guest and putting your guest on a stage. So remember that when you invite a guest to your podcast, you're putting them on your stage and you're allowing them to be the thought leader and them to share their knowledge and their influence and their expertise and experience with your community. So a lot of people sometimes can fall into the trap of trying to overpower their guest and not really giving their guest the opportunity to share what it is they want to share. So that's the first thing, is really think about putting your guest first and putting them on the pedestal to give them the stage. And of course, then it comes into preparation as well. And I'm going to give you some documents and some other information about how to prepare your guest. And but that's the other point, is that you should prepare them in the first place. A lot of people will just say, great, here's my podcast, jump on at 5 o'clock, let's chat, without any preparation at all. And that can be very dangerous because your podcast can go off on a million tangents. There's no flow, there's no framework. The guest might not have done any thought prep, so they might not be able to articulate their story well. And then you don't get a very polished performance. So
Yeah, I agree. I was scared of that. That's why I wanted to get your advice on that.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth always preparing, just in a very simple way. And I give them a little document or framework that's not verbatim, but it's just a way to give them some tool to allow them to do some self-prep before they jump on the show. Because then it can be a whole different experience when they've thought a little bit about what they're going to say, right? And again, you're using that as a framework. You still want to keep the conversation loose and impromptu, but you have some framework to use if you need to, particularly if guests start going off on a million tangents, right? So definitely preparation is a big one, and there's a lot of work that you should do, or not a lot, but you can start to really systemize and automate a lot of this, which I do. But guests are a really important part of your podcast, but you've got to prepare them as well. Hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions, guys? No one? Okay. Technology, microphones, fun. So there's a few different mics, and it can get a little bit complicated and tricky, but it's not difficult at all. Everybody's seen, when you go to a concert, you see someone with a microphone that's holding up to their mouth. That's called a stage mic. Another way the other terminology for that is a dynamic mic, right? And that's what I'm using right now. So it's a mic that I hold pretty close to my face, to my mouth, because it only picks up the sound just in this area. It doesn't pick up the rest of the room, the background, the cars, the dogs barking in the background, the lawnmower going, whatever it is. So if you're in an area that can be quite noisy, using a dynamic or a stage mic is really, really clever, because it doesn't pick up any of that background noise and it just concentrates on what's in front of you. So it can really drown out some of that background mess. If you're in a controlled environment, like a very quiet place or a soundproofed environment or a studio, that's when we use condenser mics. And condenser mics are much more sensitive, much more powerful, but they pick up everything all around. And they can sit right in front of me where you don't even see them, but they're still picking up my voice really clearly. And an example of a dynamic mic is there's a great Australian brand of mics called Rode, and they do some amazing mics. There's a mic called a Rode NT USB. There's a Rode Procaster, which is what I'm using. There's a Podcaster. If you want to go into condenser mics, there's a famous Blue Yeti that everybody talks about. That's a fun condenser mic. And then you've got mics that plug into your computer direct via USB. But you've also got mics that have to plug into an analog interface, which then plugs into your computer. So those are they're called XLR mics. You have to buy an interface first, and then they go into your computer. So keep it simple initially. Find something that plugs into USB, into your computer, and then you can go from there. Webcams or cameras, always important to have a good camera that can pick you up nicely. Your laptop cameras are great. They work really well, but the only problem with laptop cameras is if right now I've got a camera that's above me, but let's say I'm using a laptop camera, you're going to be looking up my nose, and it's not a very, very flattering aspect. So we definitely want that camera above us. So you can put it up on a few books, put it up on a shelf, put your laptop up on a kind of crane or a little cradle that you can buy from any technology store that just lifts the camera above your eye level and the computer above your eye level and gives you a much more flattering angle. If you're not using your inbuilt camera, you'll put another external webcam on the top of your screen. That's what I'm using now. I'm using a Logitech Brio, which is the new generation, which is not expensive, and it gives you a really nice camera with some other controls, and that can make a really big difference. So you don't have to spend big money on this stuff. So, $100 or so, but it can make a big difference for the video quality. And of course, you need to be well lit. So at the moment, I've got 2 ring lights on either side of me that are lighting me up from the front. Otherwise, it's very, very contrasty, right? And then, of course, you've got your mic, and I put this on a boom arm, and I can just move it up and down as I need. So, for example, this is what my system looks like. Right, really easy. I've got my big screen in front of me. I've got a little cam on the top of that. I've got 2 ring lights, and I've got my microphone, which I bring down when I need it. Any questions on that gear, guys? Feel free to just jump in and ask a question if you want.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is, I guess, your recommendation on the best equipment for traveling? So you're not in the studio and you're just out there, and at the same time, since you're traveling, you don't want your equipment to be heavy.
Yeah, really good one. Are you going to be using your laptop? Are you going to be just like doing virtual podcasts, or are you going to be doing podcasts in person?
Both. And I'm referring to when you're not using a laptop, so you're out just outside talking to people, just trying to grab a quick
Sure.
I guess so for your podcast.
Okay, cool. Well, you could probably go 2 ways about it. If you're looking to do a bit of both, then you might want to look at getting some kind of lapel mic system or a lav mic, which just kind of pops onto your shirt, and it might wirelessly or via Bluetooth pop into a receiver or onto your phone or onto your laptop or something that's really portable. So that's a good way, because then you can use it when you're in a studio environment, but you can also use it when you're outside. So that's one way to do it. You can use AirPods. Even just your basic Apple AirPods can give you a nice sound. Plug them in via your phone or plug them in Bluetooth via whatever it is that you're using. They can be great. You can great if you're going to be doing more studio stuff or home-based stuff. You can get some of these mics, which are pretty small with a little stand, and they fold up and pack away and pop in your suitcase. So there's loads of different products out there, but just try and think of keeping it light, keeping it easy, buying stuff that's USB or Bluetooth, so you don't have to carry extra gear. Yeah, and your local technology store are really good for helping you decide what to use. Just give them a ring and say, guys, this is what I intend to do. What kind of mic would you recommend for this type of situation? Or if I'm going to be using it for these different types of environments without spending double and triple. So does that kind of help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. But yeah, I would go for some kind of lapel mic system if you're going to be doing a bit of both, or just use your AirPods, keep it simple. And then later on, you buy a mic for when you're at your desk or at your office. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Recording. I just want to jump into recording a little. There are many, many ways to go about this. I still use Zoom. I keep it really simple because Zoom gives me an audio file and a video file, and then it allows me to just pop them into a audio and a video podcast hosting solution, and then I'm ready to go. If you want to get a bit more sophisticated, there are things like Riverside, StreamYard, Squadcast, and for example, Riverside and some of those products will sound a little better because what they'll do is they will record locally on each person. So say I'm recording with a guest, podcasting with a guest, it will record me directly on my computer locally. It'll record the guest directly on their computer locally. And at the end, it'll stitch it together. So you get a slightly better quality audio. Video is pretty good, as good as Zoom, but you get a slightly better quality audio because of the way that it's doing that. But honestly, keep it simple. When you start, just use Zoom. There's lots of AI tools out there now that will enhance audio quality as well. And you don't have to even bother with a lot of these products. Keep it simple, and it's relatively free. Now, in terms of where to put your podcast, once you've got your podcast, you're going to have an MP3 file, which is your audio file. You're going to have an MP4 file, which is your video file. The MP3, I would highly recommend using either Spotify for Creators. It's a Spotify product now, and it's got a great interface, and it will then distribute it out once you set it up the first time to all the other podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, all of them. There's so many. And just putting it in there once. So that's a great product. There's another one called Podbean, which I also use, which is a great, also the same system. Both really good and both very, very low cost. That's your audio podcast. Your video podcast or your video file, the MP4, you've got to put it into YouTube. YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world next to Google. It's owned by Google. So when you're using your audio, your video, put it into YouTube, because then it will be found and it will be searched for many, many years ahead. It's not just a closed environment. So people can come back and see episodes that you did 2-3 years ago. And you still get likes and shares and comments and business from an episode you did 2 years ago. It's amazing because of the search capability. So YouTube is definitely the way to go from a video housing point of view. When it comes to production, I'll get into that in a second, but this is just some high-level stuff on what to use to record and where to actually put them. Any questions on that so far? Christina, you got your hand up? Yep.
Yes. So something that I just have a question on is, if we're using a platform to stream our episodes, right, that people are paying for, and we also using YouTube, something that came to mind is, which is YouTube is free to everyone, then there should be something that's worth paying for on the streaming platform, which is why something me and my sister had talked about is
yes.
every episode not being released on YouTube. So I guess I kind of want to hear your feedback, since you just mentioned about YouTube and it will be there for a long time. Plus you could grow viewers and also gain more, I guess, capital because of the fact it's there, and you get paid for each view.
Yeah. Well, what I would do, my honest opinion would be if you're going to be, sounds like you guys want to do a lot of live streaming. I'm live, is that right?
So I guess we just want to work on, I guess, multiple platforms, but we just want to make sure that for the platform that people are paying, they are getting something, right? Whereas in YouTube, everything is just free, right? So we wanted to make sure that, I guess, in a sense, it's fair, right? For people to tune in into the paying service and they get to see more or get more.
Oh, I see. So you're going to start charging people at some point to access your podcast. Yeah.
Correct. And release some episodes on YouTube, but then there'll be some special episodes on the playing platform.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Love it. So I'll kind of break this down simply. If you're running just normal recorded podcasts using housing it in YouTube or in Spotify for Creators or Podbean is perfect. And you might then want to, you could do one of two things. You could say, all right, I'm going to release all my episodes in a certain cadence. But if you want to see my episodes a bit faster, or maybe I'll hold back a few episodes, then I might put them into a paid platform of some kind, like Patreon or some way to allow people to get access to things a bit faster. So you definitely can put them behind a paid wall, and you can give people certain exclusive benefits and even resources and content with that kind of stuff bundled in. And then you can have some free stuff for everybody else. So that's one way to do it. Or you could say, everybody, you must pay. So I'm going to put it all, I won't put it into YouTube because I don't want anybody to search for it. And you can put it into Vimeo or some other platform where they have to pay for it. So you can mix and match a bit. You can have some free stuff and some paid stuff, or you can have only paid stuff. And don't forget as well that you can also even make your videos unlisted in YouTube, so they're not searchable, but they only get a link when they pay for it. So that's another way to do it as well. So there's a few different ways to start thinking about how to do that. You can use monetization platforms like Patreon and other ones. Even Kajabi, if you're on the Kajabi, might do it. There's a million ways to do it. If you're wanting to do some live streaming as well while you're podcasting, then you want to use a platform like StreamYard, because that also will stream things live. And again, you might have some kind of paid wall between that live stream and your podcast. So they can only get onto that live stream by paying or whatever. Right? There's a million ways to go about it. It's all how creative you want to be. But the tools are out there for you to do all those different things. But I always would say record a podcast as well, post-produce it, and have that as your premium release. But then all the other things can be still accessed live, or some of those premium releases can be accessed early by people that want to pay for it, right? So you can mix and match how you want to play. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Right, there's a million ways to think about how to monetize, and I do a whole course on that, but this is some of the stuff that comes from that. Awesome. Now, preparation. We were chatting about this before. The more prepared your guest is, the better the show is going to be. Right. So what I generally do is when I start working with a guest, or when I find the guest has interest in coming on the show, I'll email them a little document that will give them a whole prep and what to do, what to look out for, what to actually provide me with. So it makes my job easier. Give me your bio, give me 5 sample questions, give me your photo, give me your social media handles, whatever it is. And here's what to do in terms of thinking about lighting, sound, how to prepare, how to articulate your story, etc. So I give them a whole document that does that, and then I get an email back with some information. I then plug all that information in another framework that is my episode framework, which I then go and email to my guest, say, here you go, there's the final episode framework, study, get ready. And also keep that with me on my computer while I'm podcasting so I can access it and make reference to it as well. So the preparation is really important, and it's something that's really, really important to do. Production. From a production point of view, again, you can be really simple or you can be really, really complicated. So if you really want to get complicated, you can start using tools like GarageBand, which is an Apple product, Audacity, which is a general product, Pro Tools, and these all are for audio editing. For video editing, iMovie is a great one. If you're a Mac person, does everything for you, video and audio. Or Filmora, there's a few others. I've heard of a few others the other day. I can't remember them. They're more PC-based products. But what I generally teach is when I'm doing a class, I will say, you know what, rather than do things twice, just do things once. So I would say, put all your stuff into your iMovie or your PC equivalent, edit everything in video and audio form at the same time, chop up what you need, do what you got to do, change work, manipulate volume, put your intros and outros in, put your little promos in, whatever it is, your music. And then once it's all done in video and audio form together, you then export it as a video file separately and an audio file separately. So now you've done two things with one thing. You've got two steps, or one step gives you two products rather than doing things twice. So that's a really, really important way to go about it. Right? So production can be simple or it can be hard. Start simple. Later on, you can go and put more steps into it. Then you can start adding Canva templates. So when I do a podcast and I put it up on YouTube, it's a Canva template that I've run through as well as my last phase. So I take my video, I dump it into a Canva template, make it even nicer, put some logos on there, and that's what goes into my YouTube channel. Right? So you can start building as you go. When I first started, I kept it really simple. And as I get better and better, I start adding and making it more professional. Right? So you don't have to be scared away by how much time it'll take, because it can be really simple when you start. Any questions on that before we get into promotion? I can't really see the chat with my system at the moment. So if there's any questions in the chat, just jump out and verbally ask them, and then I can answer them verbally. No, all good? Okay. So now you have a podcast. What do you do with it? That's the biggest question. There's lots of podcasts out there every day, more and more every minute. How do you stand out? How do you use it to your advantage? How do you get results? Right? Very, very important. Like I always say, a podcast is like a website. You can have the most beautiful, expensively built website, but if no one actually knows it exists, what's the point? And it's the same with your podcast. You have to get used to and have to get comfortable promoting your podcast, promoting your show, promoting your brand, promoting everything. Right? So we'll go through a little bit of that. Now, I like to think of my podcast as another pillar in my wider marketing or social media marketing strategy. It's just another pillar. And my podcasts outperform all my other content by far, in spades. And think of your podcast like a film, like a TV series, like a radio show, like a new album being released. Whenever anybody does anything like that, they promote the lead up heavily, they promote the release, and then they post promote the behind the scenes, the extra content, re-promote everything else as well. So you have an excuse to be constantly promoting your show for the next 6 months, even before you started. And that's a big one. Think of how Tom Cruise promotes his Mission Impossible. Think about White Lotus, how they've been promoting that heavily on social media. Like on and on and on. There's so much work you can do if you think about it, how a star or Hollywood or a music artist will promote their stuff. So don't fall into the trap of getting complacent and just releasing your episode once and then forgetting about it. Think about how you can utilize a lot of this strategy to promote your show, your episode, your guest, way, way before it even releases. Very, very important. You can promote greatest hit stuff. The sky's the limit, really. Now, the other thing that I always like to remind everybody, again, you want to extract as many different forms of content in your promotion. You get written content, you get audio, you get video, you get graphic, you get photo, and you tell all your guests to do the same, right? You want to leverage your podcasts as much as you can. You want to re-promote them regularly. Every time you promote anything, only a very small percentage of people sees anything, maybe 1 or 5%. If you re-promote stuff, another 5% might see it, another 5% might see it. And it's just about promoting it in a way that's a little different. I like to think of it like cooking. You can have 5 different ingredients, but you can make 20 different dishes out of them. And it's the same thing. When you have 5 different ingredients of content like this, you can then mix and match. Put graphic together with written, put photo together with written, put video together with graphic, whatever. So you're trying to work out how I put this recipe together, this dish together for today. And then next week, you do something different with the same stuff and you repurpose your content. It's really, really powerful. Tag as many people as you can. Collaborate always with your guests. Get them to share and tag because that's where your audience will grow. Share them on Facebook and LinkedIn groups or any other groups that you might belong to, online or offline. Link to them in your email signature. Put them on your website. Make sure you have a link on your website to say audio, video, podcast. Mention them everywhere. People automatically start talking about them and you'll find guests that way. You'll find listeners that way. It's amazing. One of the biggest ways that podcasts grow is through word of mouth. So it's really important to mention your podcast everywhere. Right? Now, a lot of common podcasting obstacles. People always say, I don't have enough time. I'm not tech savvy. What if nobody listens? I'm afraid of running out of ideas. I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like how I look. It's too expensive. I'm not sure where to begin, right? These are the classic obstacles that you find. And I'm here to tell you that none of these are valid, that you can do a lot of this stuff really, really easily, really, really quickly, very low cost. And it's fun once you get used to it. You don't have to run a video podcast if you don't want to. You can run an audio podcast only, or you can just put your audio version with a little graphic on YouTube, and that can become your video podcast without people even seeing your video. So there's lots of ways around things and little hacks that you can also use to create video and audio. But if you are serious, I would highly recommend getting comfortable on video because it will make you more confident, it'll make you more articulate, and you will allow people to really get to know you. If you don't see you and hear you the same in that way, they can't build a relationship with you. So that it opens up much more opportunities if people can see you in the flesh, video and audio, just the way it is, right? Can you identify with any of those questions, of any of those holding you back before you came on this podcast session? Think about which one and think about how great it would feel when you actually have launched and you've said, all right, I'm starting. I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's go. All right. Tula, a good friend of mine now, she wanted to start her podcast. She came to me for some coaching. We did a one-on-one sessions and she's now putting out podcasts every week. She's loving it. She's having a lot of fun and she's always asking me about new tech that's around and she's absolutely in awe of podcasting, right? I want you to embrace a podcasting mindset. Don't think about perfectionism. Don't always think that everything has to be perfect or has to be ready in inverted commas. It never will be ready. It will never be perfect. Always think of that analogy. There's a great book by Michael Masterson, Ready, Fire, Aim. You don't want to be always overthinking everything. Start and fly the plane or build the plane while you're flying it. And that's what I did. If I go back to my beginning episodes, it was terrible, way different to what they are now. But I had so much fun and I've enjoyed the journey and I've learned a lot and I've got to know a lot of people and it's bringing me great results. So I'm here to tell you that your first few episodes are never going to be as good as your 100th or 200th episode, and that's fine. Enjoy the journey. Embrace the learning. Shift the focus from you to your audience. Try and give them what they need. They don't even worry so much if it's not perfect. They just want the information. They want to get to know you. They want to get to know what you can teach them. And you don't have to do it alone. You can do it with a guest. You can do it with a friend, with a partner, a collaborator. And all the magic happens when you're starting to feel outside your comfort zone and you start to stretch and get creative. That's when the magic happens. There's a great link here if anybody wants to jot that down. It's a link to a YouTube video that I've put out with a good friend of mine, Steve. He's a training professional, and we talked all about how to overcome that perfectionism and imposter syndrome that we all worry about when we want to get our voice out there and into the world. So feel free to have a listen. I'll see if I can pop that in the chat after we finish as well. Before we get into that, any questions? Any other questions or comments? No?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure,
So I've seen on Spotify lately some podcasts that include video, and I didn't know that was a thing. So is that like an either or for YouTube, or is that just an option? I guess I'm trying to figure out, is there an advantage or is that just a preference? Is it more expensive? Because not all podcasts do that do the video portion. So I didn't know if you could speak to that.
True. Is that Tiffany? Am I speaking?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome, Tiffany. Yeah. Yes. So for example, Spotify for Creators have done a deal where they're now connected to Riverside. And what you can do is when you use Spotify for Creators, you can actually put a video version of your podcast on the platform as well as the audio one. So that's why you get that in Spotify. But I would still say that YouTube is important to use. I wouldn't just rely on that because you don't get the search capability like YouTube. Right? If someone's searching for whatever it is that you're trying to promote or teach or share, you will pop up on YouTube. Whereas there's very few people that'll do a search and pop up via Spotify. It's different. So the search capability of YouTube is just so powerful that you really should use that, and all the others are just a bonus. Make sense?
I couldn't get off mute, but yes, thank you.
No worries. Yeah, so definitely YouTube. It's just I can't rave about YouTube enough.
Hey, Darren.
Yeah, go for it.
I also think they're doing that in YouTube as well. They're putting video podcasts on YouTube. I've seen quite a few.
Definitely. 100%. I think your video podcast or video version of your podcast should be in YouTube without a doubt. Everybody's doing it, and it's just great for the search capability. Yep. So your audio is going to go to Spotify for Creators or Podbean, and your video is going to go to YouTube. And everything else is a bonus. Any other questions? No.
I just have a comment.
Yeah, sure.
I enjoy that you do bring up imposter syndrome and just starting, because I agree with it, because you're waiting for everything to be perfect and you never start. So
100%.
I think now me and my sister at that journey where we like, let's just get started. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree. We're at the point, kind of the strategy that we've been going with now is every time I feel scared, I just do it.
Love it.
And then I just wait for results.
It was a great movie, and I think it was there was a catchphrase from a movie, and it was just like lean into it. Whatever it is, just lean into it.
Right. So that's really been like how I'm overcoming things at this point. Because honestly, I could resonate with a lot of people here, where we was always a couple years ago, where it's like we're gonna start it and we never did, and we literally got to actually start this by me just randomly one day just telling people I'm going to start a podcast, and because of the fact everyone's waiting for it, I'm like, now I told people about this. Now they're waiting. I need to get this done.
I love it. That's actually the coolest phase. Tell everybody you're going to launch next week, and then you can't
Yeah,
back
and I
out.
was
Now
like,
it's
oh,
too
it's
late.
launching this year. I was like, there's nothing we could do now. They're waiting this year. So
Let's
every
go.
now and then I have people saying, so when is this? So that's where we're leaning into it. So
Yeah.
I do agree with the whole approach about
Yeah.
just jump and
Yeah.
figure it out.
Best way to put yourself out there is say, all right, guys, I'm launching my first episode next week. Put it out on social media, and now you're locked in.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, nothing is like when I did my first episode, I was my first episode was actually in a studio environment. It was like in a library. I rented a room, and that was actually pretty good. It was fun. My second episode I did was a fun episode, but I was in the back of a cafe outside. I did it with my phone on the table. I ran out of questions after about 5 minutes, and the whole episode was about 15 minutes. Right. But since then, I've done episodes that go over an hour. I can podcast with the best of them. It's so much fun. I don't get nervous at all. And it's just a journey. So if you never start, you'll never go on that journey. So stop procrastinating, just start. And it's fun. And nobody cares, honestly. People just want to know what they're going to learn. They're not worried about the production value or what you look like or what you wore or how you spoke or the pitch of your voice or whatever it is, right? Just start. People are more interested in what they're going to learn and get to know you rather than all that other stuff. It's just superficial. So powerful.
Good advice.
Can't stress that enough. And the best way is, as I said, trick yourself into it. So now you have no way to back out. Okay. Hidden benefits of podcasting. Further to this, it builds confidence. You build all sorts of incredible skills, communication, tech, creativity. Creativity is a muscle. I learned that from a guy called Chase Jarvis from Creative Live. He started Creative Live, and he has a whole podcast about this. Creativity is a muscle. The more you use it, the more creative you get. There's no such thing as you're not creative. Everybody is creative. We're all born with creativity. We just have to learn to exercise it and express it. Everybody has some creative muscle that they're already using. You might be a cook, you might be a chef, you might be great at drawing, you might be great at singing, whatever it is. Everybody is creative. I'm great at writing, right? You get to network and collaborate with people. You get to build all sorts of opportunities that come off the back of that. Your personal brand gets a massive boost. You start getting asked to do speaking and get paid for speaking. You start getting asked to collaborate in summits, virtual summits, physical summits. It's a form of therapy, right? It's kind of fun to get your messages out there and express yourself and connect with everybody. It's kind of cathartic in a way. It can be a really fun side hustle. And a podcast trains you to become a better listener because we all want to talk, we all want to say what we want to say, but a conversation, particularly with a guest, as I said, putting them on a stage, you have to train yourself to really listen and facilitate the conversation without overpowering the conversation. So you really get to learn to become a better listener and a better conversationalist, which is really, really fun and useful in the world. Right? Belinda, one of my recruitment colleagues, wanted to learn how to set up her recruitment podcast. Now she's thriving. She's doing all sorts of great podcasts about recruitment tech. And I've forgotten how many episodes she's done, but she's really pumping them out one after another. So it's really easy. So just to finish up, as I mentioned, I'm going to go through some Q&A as well now, but I can't teach everything in 1 hour and 1.5 hours, but I've broken down podcasting into a really simple podcast marketing system. I call it my 3 P's of podcasting, and I call it podcast marketing because it's not about just the podcast. It's about how do we use the podcast for marketing material and marketing results and business results. So my 3 P's are preparation, production, and promotion. And you can't run a successful podcast without those 3 things working together. Can't just do one or the other, or 2 or 3. So it's a simple 3-step process. I've done it for many, many years. I've taught many, many people. And imagine if you took that on board, started your podcast, 6 months, it's thriving. People are coming to you, people are learning about you, and you took the step. How cool would that be? Right? Here's a free gift, and I'll pop these in. I'll go through now and pop all these in the chat as soon as I've taken down my presentation. But it's an interview framework, so you can kind of get a sense of what to prepare with your guests and give them as a framework to prepare for the episode. So that's for you. Jeff, another great podcaster. He wanted to learn a bit more about how to optimize his already thriving podcast on marketing. And he's got some great tools and tips. And he said, man, those few things have made me so much money already. So there's so many things you can do just from learning a few little tips and tricks from those three systems. Right. So podcast gives you brand awareness and it gives you marketing content. Those are the two powerful parts of podcast marketing. Right. So if anybody's interested in taking it further, I've got an incredible offer for you. I've got 3 courses. One is my beginner's intro course. One is my 4-session recorded course, which teaches you how to prepare, produce, and promote your podcast in way more detail with lots of Q&A as well. And I've got a whole session on how to monetize, 15 different ways to monetize your podcast. I've got more podcast resources and PDFs and frameworks. I've got a 2-hour webinar recording, and I've got free challenges and all sorts of things, all for $29 Australian, which is absolutely nothing, valued at over $1,000. So if you want to grab it, you can. You can jump on that link, and I'll pop that in the link as well for you. But lots of really great content, and feel free to jump on. So I really wanted to say thanks for listening, but stay on because I want to do some Q&A, and I hope you enjoy your podcasting journey, and it's been a pleasure today. So let me unshare this. And I've got everybody in front of me. Awesome. So let's hand out to some Q&A. And while we're doing that, I'm going to pop in all those links so you can download some of this stuff as well. So has anybody got any comments or questions? I can see now. I can see the chat now, so I can just have a quick read. Great. What are the best, LaShawn, what are the best times to post your podcast? Again, there are no rules to this. As long as you're reasonably consistent, that's the most important thing. I'm not too worried about whether you do it every day, every week, every month. Just be consistent. That's the most important thing. More details on 80% education and 20% of sales. So 80% is going to be educational material, giving people a podcast that teaches them something. And also when it comes to promotion, promoting something that teaches them something, rather than promoting something that you're selling, right? Or promoting an event or promoting something that people have got to spend money or do. So just think of what you're giving them. Are you giving them information, or are you giving them something that's going to make you money or give you a certain benefit? You want to keep the promotional stuff to a minimum and the other stuff to a maximum, so you give people enough value. And people are very happy to give you a little bit of something back when you've given them way more value in advance. That's just the law of reciprocity, right? LaShawn, how about editing programs, and how can you learn these programs thoroughly? Okay. So editing programs, as I mentioned, LaShawn, are you a Mac or PC person?
I am a PC person.
Okay. So I can't remember the name. Someone told me one the other day. Just Google equivalent, PC equivalent to iMovie, and all sorts of great products will come up. If anybody knows one on the call here today, please feel free to share. And then you just use that as your main editing tool and edit in video and audio together, and then extract both audio and video after that. I think that's the most important thing, because you don't want to be doing things 3 times, right? You want to be doing things once and only once, and it will allow you to then do it all in one place and then extract the audio and the video from there. Okay. I'm just going to pop in all those links here while we're talking. Meeting group chat. Okay. There's the mega bundle. Here is the free framework. Any other questions or comments while I'm doing that, guys? Everybody's very quiet today.
I have a question.
Go for it.
You mentioned about consistency. So what's your recipe of consistency? Like once a week, every other week?
My recipe is my general cadence is once a week. But when you're starting, like I would say do it every 2 to 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Don't have to kill yourself with, get ready, get used to the editing process, get used to the preparation, the guests, the whole workflow, how it all works behind the scenes. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to launch one every week. Once you get into the swing of it and you automate a lot of it, use some tools to automate stuff like Calendly, use ChatGPT to make your life easier. There's lots of great ways to start automating and using notepads and scripts and stuff that you could cut and paste. So that's the kind of thing that I would do when you start getting your head around it. And so then I can start increasing the frequency. But when you start, just go for one a month or one every 2 weeks. That's perfect. Absolutely fine. Hope that helps. Here's the video on imposter syndrome.
Darren, I've also, can you hear me? This is Tiffany again.
I can hear you.
I've also heard that you want to launch with a couple of episodes. Like, I think I heard like you want to have 4. So if people are interested, they can kind of go back and listen. But I didn't hear you mention that at all. It sounds like you're kind of saying just.
Good point. Yeah, I'll definitely talk about that. I think that's really important. A lot of people say it's great. I think it's probably a good idea to have 3 episodes or 4 episodes in the bag to launch. Because just like when you're, starting watching a new Netflix series, you love it, you watch 1 episode, you want to have at least 1 or 2 more to watch. And then you wait the next week for the next one. So it's kind of the same with the podcast. At least have another one, have 2, at least have 1 other. And then at least they get a sense of 1 more and really start to learn, get a more idea of your style, and then they fall in love and they'll wait for the next one. If you just have 1, it can be a bit random, but there are no rules. If you want to do 1, you can. And again, that comes into how you promote things. But yeah, have 1 or 2 in the bag. That kind of helps.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Has that been helpful for you?
Yes, this was so awesome. Thank you
Sorry.
so much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Kelly, I missed that.
No, I said it's bringing back a lot from what we've done before. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Do you have a big long stick you can just poke me?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a long stick that reaches all the way to Canberra.
Yeah, I know. At least I've got 1 episode recorded, so I'm like, that's
Good.
further than I was before.
Well, if you go and record 1 more episode and then launch.
Yes, I know. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another question, Darren. This is Tiffany again. I don't know if I heard you mention length.
Yeah, good one, Tiffany. Good question. I'm glad you're listening, Tiffany. Very good. Yes, length is another one that everybody questions about. Do I do 1 hour, 2 hours, 40 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, etc.? So I would always say, think about your audience. Every audience is different as well. Some audience might be the type of audience that will be ready and available to listen to 2 hours of content. Not many, but some will. Some people, most people will be listening to it in the car, on the treadmill, in the shower, while they're going for a walk with the dog. So you've probably got 20 to 30 minutes of attention. So I like to think of a nice sweet spot to be 20 to 40 minutes. That's kind of my sweet spot. If you do longer ones, there's nothing wrong with that. Do the longer episodes, but maybe chop them up into 2 parts and release them as part 1 and part 2. That's another way to actually launch. Do 1 long episode and release it as two parts, and then you've got 2 in the bag to launch.
I love that. Thank you.
So just do 1 guest, go for an hour, and go half an hour, done. 1 part 1, part 2. You're trying to make your life easy.
Thank you. Okay, another question. I got all the questions.
Sure.
So I know you mentioned like playing music and things. Where's the best place to get music that you won't get in trouble for using?
Yeah, okay. There's a great website that I use called Upbeat. It's in the chat, and you can download. There's a small fee for the membership, but you can download copyright-free music and use it in all your podcasts and stuff. It's really cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's a really good one. And the same thing with graphics. If you ever want graphics, there's a great one called 123 RF. So that's kind of fun to use too.
And guess what? That was my next question.
I'm reading your mind.
I might be done with questions now.
No, it's all good. It's all fun.
Thank you.
Anyone else want a question or comment? No.
I do.
Sure.
Christina again. I actually like that you said that you could just have 2 episodes and just start releasing, because I heard some people that have a whole bunch of episodes and then you release, and I'm like, why I need that much episodes?
2. I think 2's enough. Like I think a lot of I listen to a lot of the I've used instruction from a lot of the streaming channels, and I think Netflix obviously gives you everything at once. Apple TV Plus sometimes gives you 1 extra. Binge might give you 1 extra, or one of them. So a lot of them just give you 1 extra, and that's enough for me. I'll say, great, I got a sense of what this is about. Now I'm eagerly waiting for the next one, because there's also a bit of that. You want to create a bit of that curiosity as well. If you give people too much, it's like almost too much too soon. So you want to find the balance between giving them just enough, but also creating a bit of curiosity and tension for them to wait for the next one.
I agree.
Yeah, so you're trying to find that balance. Yeah. Anyone else?
Okay, so this is a comment, and I'm done after this. It's Tiffany.
No, you got plenty, as many as you like.
So seriously, this morning I just outlined like my podcast, and I didn't know anything about this class. I was just randomly trying to find things to do on a Friday night, actually music events in my local area.
Oh wow.
And somehow I stumbled on this, and I was like,
it on Eventbrite? Is that how you found it?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was like, okay, universe, the synergy's crazy. It must be really time for me to launch this. So I just want to say thanks again for this offering.
My pleasure. My pleasure. As you can see, I'm very passionate about podcasting. I can talk about it forever. I found that Eventbrite is a great platform. There's a lot of great people that are looking to podcast, and just for your own knowledge, like it's a great marketing platform. So I've realized that when you're marketing whatever it is, use Eventbrite as a marketing platform, because it seems to have a lot of great people that are looking for great content, and it's intent based, because you're like you went searching for something and you found something else, but you were ready for something. Whereas if it's like Facebook or something else, you're just grabbing people when they're doing something. You don't really have the attention or the intent. So Eventbrite's a great platform as a marketing one as well. Use that when you're later on doing whatever it is that you do.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Well, let's wrap it up. I just wanted to say thank you for listening. As I mentioned, I hope you got a lot out of that. That was a lot of fun. It's not hard. It's once you start, it's really easy, and you start to build your workflow and your systems and your automations as you go. So don't kill yourself. Don't overload yourself or put too much pressure on yourself. Release 1 episode a month, and then get your system up and running. If anybody got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can jump on my website, or I'll put my email in here as well if anybody wants it. Suspended.
That was going to be my question.
Ah, cool. So there's my email address. You can reach out to me. And as I mentioned, if anybody wants to grab any other courses, I've got loads of great, really cheap recorded stuff that will teach you way more in depth, and it's for absolutely peanuts. So feel free to jump on. Any last questions or comments before we wrap up?
Yes, this is Christine here speaking.
Nice.
So I found you on LinkedIn. Are you accepting connects?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you know I'm connecting.
That's Christine. There's two of me. I've got two different LinkedIn profiles. So there's one with a hat on. Use that one.
I saw the hat.
There's another one that I have for my other recruitment business. But this is my podcast one. Definitely.
Perfect.
Love it. And yeah, and I'd love to see some of your stuff, guys. Once you've actually released and launched, please send me an episode and say, Darren, I did it. Thank you. Here it is. So I'd love to see it. Or tag me in or whatever.
I'll pre-warn you so you don't get too shocked.
Yeah. I'll say, oh my God, let me sit down, Kelly. Hold on.
I know.
She's actually launched after 3 years.
No, this has been longer than that.
Love it.
I still keep coming back though.
Well, there's something there. There's something in it.
Oh God.
And honestly, like when these days, even though podcasts are getting really plentiful and there's lots out there, it's still the most incredible way to create awareness with the content that you're creating from it to draw people back to your website or to your whatever. So it's a front end tool. Your website and everything else is a back end tool. It's like the end of the journey, but you got to get people in the door before you even get to the website. And the podcast and the content that you create from it is that front end door. So you've got to have some kind of front end door for people to walk through to even get to the room. And that's why podcasts are so powerful, because it's the way in. Yeah. So anyway, just wanted to say thanks again, guys. Let's wrap it up before my voice disappears. But it's been lovely to meet you all. Everybody, really, thanks for coming on board. Kelly and Jeff, great to see you again. Great to meet you. Tiffany, Laura, Christina, LaShawn, Christine, Amilcar, Solitaire, who's just left, and everybody else as well. So feel free to tell everybody else about it. Maybe they can come into the next one. I'll try and do one of these once a month. Always feel free to come and join us again. And keep an eye on Eventbrite, because I'll probably have them up there as well. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Darren.
Pleasure, guys. Have a
Thank
great
you.
one.
Enjoy the rest of your day.